I feel like this is the only place I ever read this poem. And it seems like if you've ever seen me here before, you're going to think, she always reads that fucking poem. But whenever I get here, I want to read this poem. And I usually don't feel safe reading this poem in most places. I hope I know the words. There is a reason. Let me just preface it with this. Tara Hardy, who is an amazing human being in this community, several years ago told me I needed to start writing the things I was terrified to write. And I didn't write anything for 6 months after she said that. And then this was the first poem that I wrote after. There is a reason my body creaks like a closing casket every time I fuck with the lights left on. It is the same reason my friend sets fire to photographs of birds and follows the smoke with pleading eyes. We both had years when the phoenix didn't rise, when we slept in beds of cindered feathers and held hollow ashen beaks the way other kids hold ice cream cones. I sucked the bones of a songbird's rotting wing, and you think your pills are gonna fix me, doctor. You think I'm gonna chase this down with water, the shame as loud as his next girl's nightmares. I tied my tongue like a ribbon in my baby sister's hair, like a bow around a gift I gave to my mother and father, and my silence equaled every Christmas morning where we were still happy and grateful, but my silence was also his next girl's eyes, falling like timber where no one chose to hear, her roots ripped up her ground, eroding to the din of an old man's zipper. 20 years later, I wake in damp sheets, my body trembling to the ghost of her voice cracking like a frozen lake, and I don't even know her name. Never saw her face, only heard the rumor that he'd moved on to the hemorrhage of another perfect thing. And now here I sing through cinder, through microphones raised like white flags in war zones, through poems I have dug from my throat like fishing hooks. From here, I look back at my voice lowered to half-mast, how he must have stood there with his dirty hand on his dirty heart, laughing like a broken levee, as his next girl woke with body bags beneath her eyes and enough shame in her gut to give the hurricane her own name. If I could see her face, if I could face the eye of her storm, how would I ever tell her that I speak for a living? Would I offer my own wounds as condolence? Would I say his claws carved me animal? Would I say at 14 years old I threw my bloody fist into my boyfriend's face till his eyes swelled shut and his tears turned crimson and his jaw cracked till I was finally convinced his hands were not every man's hands? Would I tell her I have stood beneath street lamps waiting for the swarming flies to identify my body as carcass, to swallow every cell of salt and leave nothing behind but the trellis of my untouched bones? I remember the fault lines in the corners of his eyes, the way he shook hands with my father, the look on his face beneath the swollen sun. Even his shadow looked guilty, the concrete made crime scene by his touch. Would I tell her this? Would I ask if she has ever outlined her own body in chalk? Is there yellow tape in your top dresser drawer for those nights when your true love's kiss is an anthem to a dead country and you find yourself with rope burns around your neck, begging the bodies of strangers to not respect you in the morning? In the morning I shovel my blood from the white snow, I wipe my frantic breath from the window, and I bind my breast so that something will hold my breath so tight that even the air in my lungs could be identified as woman. Woman, are you a carbon copy of myself? Is there a boy inside you painting your cells with a charcoal of cindered feathers so you will never again glow in the dark the way girls do? Woman, if I knew your name, if I could face the eye of your storm and the warning locked in my voice box that never came, would I tell you all of this? And after that, would I ever find the nerve to admit that even if I could, I wouldn't take my silence back? My father owned a gun. He would have blown that man apart. My mother owned a mother's heart. Everything would have broken. Everything but you.